1996 horror film Scream captivated audiences by reinventing the slasher horror genre and brought us 4 sequels. It took some of the best of horror and brought it all full circle and made our final girl all the much better than the usual ones we were used to in the 1980s. To be honest, it wasn't so much about the fright. Some considered a parody of 80s horror, but rather it was fun and clever to watch, and we can thank the scary movie franchise for the laughs too. Scream is about Sydney Prescott, who becomes the latest target of a masked killer in Woodsboro, California, just a year after her mother's death. The masked killer, known as Ghostface, hunts her friends and schoolmates. The pacing was great, and the ending twist worked. We find out that it was her boyfriend Billy all along with his friend Stu. Sure, there was motive for Billy, but Stu didn't really have any. Who really buys his whole peer pressure idea anyway? This is a play on the original 1978 Halloween movie. Heck, the movie's even played in this film, and they used its famous score. A year later, Scream 2 was released, which follows Sydney in college in Ohio, only to relive the horror of Woodsboro as a new serial killer goes on a murder spree. In the end, she finds out her boyfriend wasn't the killer and sadly was killed right in front of her eyes. While the reveal of Ghostface didn't come to much of a shock, it was a good ending regardless, and in a way it should have ended the series right there. And then came the steaming pile of garbage released in 2000 known as Scream 3, which embraces the cliches of sequels rather than mock them. It's so bad it'll make us dumber to review it. To save you time, all you need to know is that the movie takes place on a movie set. Ghostface is killing actors. Sydney's mom had a kid who is the actual killer. I mean, the only good part of this movie was Cotton's death at the beginning. That's it. The voice changer also was just weird. This movie is even worse than Halloween Resurrection. At least Busta Rhymes was entertaining, despite it being one of the worst movies of all time. Sadly, Scream 3 actually made money. I can't believe people paid for this and made it profitable. But then again, at least we got to see Scream 4 down the road. If you're watching the franchise for the first time, you can actually skip Scream 3 for Scream 4 instead. It feels more like what Scream 3 should have been and is miles better. And if we were to redo Scream 3, we would make it much different. In our version, it would be closer to the original plan for Scream 3. It was because of the Columbine shootings back then that the original plan was put off. Sure, it would have been in bad taste at the time, but a movie's a movie. The story starts off years after the events of Scream 2, with Sydney working as a new guidance counselor at her old high school where it all started. After dealing with a few students, one of them is viciously killed in their home. Each of her students that she primarily deals with are killed off till the school is shut down. Dewey, who made sheriff now, tries to solve the case as Gail is writing a book on the college murders and once again tries to get to the bottom of the case. Unfortunately for Gail, she's ruthlessly killed at the climax of the movie, and this after she gets back with Dewey. Of course, if we were going to do Scream 4 and 5, this probably wouldn't happen, but we're doing a trilogy here. We're ending it here. We eventually get to the final kill, and we see a TV set over the head of Dewey. It's meant to be of a shock, with another major character dead. Sydney starts to realize who it is, and yeah, Stu is back. He survived and escaped prison, but he isn't alone. We find out in the end Stu had a younger brother who was determined to get revenge for ruining Stu and his family's life, and is, as we would expect, to be one of Sydney's students, something she wasn't aware of, as he had a different name, was emancipated, and had a missing record, something Gil later figured out. Sydney managed to fight Stu off and finally kills him, but is viciously stabbed and wounded by Stu's brother before the police arrive. And the police ruthlessly gun him down in revenge to Dewey's death, giving it sort of a Tarantino feel. Sydney survives her wounds and finishes Gail's book in honor of her and Dewey. What do you think of Scream 3 in general, or even our version of it? Let us know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and thank you for watching In the Plot.